All right, recording.
Alright, I'm going to be talking about metallurgical and mechanical related corrosion today. First, I'm going to talk about corrosion fatigue, then just fatigue, intergranular corrosion, transgranular corrosion, liquid metal embrittlement, selective leaching, sensitization, and weld decay. Corrosion fatigue is a result of a combination of action altering or cycling stress in a corrosion environment. Humidity increases the effects, seawater and all Aquarius situations will increase. No metal is immune to corrosion fatigue. Factors include loading, environmental, and metallurgical factors. Loading includes the type of load or the stress or strain put on an object. Environment would be, like I said, salt water, temperature, soils, as well as galvanic equipment. Metallurgical factors would include the hardness or strength of the material, as well as brittleness and all that. Here's some pictures. It shows the cracking going into it. This is stress corrosion cracking right here, and it has long branches, and then this is corrosion fatigue that's deeper with short branches. I couldn't find like exactly what I wanted, so I had to compare it to something else. Here's some pictures. Just most of the stuff that gets corroded with stress at the same time. The type of test is cycle to failure tests. In this testing methods, specimens or parts are subject to significant numbers of stress cycles. And in the cracking one, in this testing method, fracture mechanics methods are used to determine the crack growth rate of preceding cracks under silic loading. Pre-existing cracks or sharp defects in the material reduce or eliminate the crack initiation of the fatigue life in this component. The remedies would be CP, shot peening, electroplating with sacrificial coatings are properly applied inhibitors. Fatigue is loss in strength of structural materials caused by silic loads. Environments for fatigue. The environment that supports fatigue would be all that would put a lot of stress or strain on the material. Susceptible metals and alloys would be all that have a low resistance to stress and strain, or brittle. Factors would be the amount of stress or strain, vibration, or lack of lubricants. Here's some pictures. It's also a cracking type of deal. You can see in this bolt, it had stress to it and it started to crack. Same thing with here, this one, that one. They just, once it has stress, it just starts to crack. The testings would be cycle to failure tests, similar to, or exactly the same as the other one. In this testing method, they're tested over and over again to see how many cycles it could take before it eventually fails. Mitigating it would be the type of material used or change in design to prevent the fatigue if possible. It's usually not possible though. Intergranular corrosion is a form of localized surface attack in which narrow paths are corroded out along the grain boundaries of the metal. The environments, it occurs in high temperature environments, for example welding or improper heat treatments. Metals and alloys susceptible would be aluminum, copper alloys, 18-8 stainless steel, welded stainless steels, some aluminum alloys, and some nickel alloys. The factors would be carbon content. The higher the content, the more there is risk of this form of corrosion. The temperature, the range would be between 650 and 700 degrees Celsius. Sensitization of time, the maximum degrees of sensitization takes place after about 10,000 minutes. The grain size, coarse grains will be more susceptible than fine grains would be. Cold working increases, and the addition of alloy elements. Here's a corrosion cell. You see the cathode there and the anode, and then you can see the corrosion happening here along the grain boundaries. There's some fissures. You can see the grains up close there. Testing methods is ASTM A262. There's, I think there were 6 parts, but I just did practice A, B, and C. In practice A, the acid test is used as a rapid technique to screen samples of certain stainless steel grades to ensure they are free of susceptibility to intergranular attack. Practice C, also known as the Schreiber test, uses weight loss analysis to provide a quantitative measure of the material's performance. And in practice C, also known as the Huey test, samples are boiled from 5 to 48 hour periods in a 65% nitric acid solution. The weight loss is calculated after each step. Mitigation would be material selection and careful heat treatment. Transgranular corrosion is very similar, it's just it happens different within the grains, but other than that, it's pretty much all the same. Still going to go through everything though. It's a type of localized corrosion which occurs along cracks or faults across crystals in the metals or alloys. It follows a pattern of grains of the material, so it goes through the grains. Here are some alloys and environments that support these type of alloys. Aluminum alloys, chlorides and moist air increases corrosion. Magnesium alloys, chlorides, moist air, nitric acid, fluorides, copper alloys, ammonium, moist air, and moist sulfuric dioxide, carbon steels, nitrides, hydroxides, carbonates, and ammonia. And then there's the other ones, nickel, high-strength steels, and tin. Susceptible metals or alloys, transgranular, would be aluminum, magnesium, copper, carbon, and I don't know what that word. High-strength steels, nickel, and gallium. Factors that affect it would be the grain size or structure, stress, and time, as well as temperature. That's not on there. Here's some pictures. You can see it goes through the grains. The testing and monitoring, I got these from Miss Bonnie. The field testing is magnetic particles. When there's cracking in the pipe, they put magnetic particles and it'll go into the cracks and you wipe it off pretty much. Or no, I'm thinking of another one. And this one you get a magnet from the inside or outside, and it'll go into the cracks and the rest will fall off. It's pretty neat how she was explaining it to me. And then the liquid penetrant is the one I was describing a second ago, is you spray it on there and then wipe it off, and then it's colored and you'll see the cracks in there. It's pretty neat. Mitigation, material selection, reduce intentional stresses, and cathodic friction. Liquid metal embrittlement is an insidious form of cracking that occurs when molten metals come into contact with susceptible materials. The liquid metal gets absorbed into the material, causing its bond strength to decrease and cracking along the grain boundaries. The environments would be where susceptible metals or alloys are exposed to molten metals. Susceptible metals and alloys most commonly occur in austenitic stainless steels, but can afflict other coppers, nickel, and aluminum alloys. The contributing factors would be the amount of time exposed to the molten metal and the type of molten metal the alloy or metal is exposed to. Here's some pictures. You can see that's the molten metal getting inside the cracks, and same with that one and this one. The testing and monitoring. Testing typically involves tensile specimens, but more sophisticated testing uses fracture mechanisms. Mechanics specimens is also performed.
Breathe.
Mitigation. The best way to prevent liquid metal embrittlement is to ensure that liquid metals never have an opportunity to come in contact with vulnerable metals. If metallic coatings or barriers are being used in a facility, be aware of the potential hazards and plan accordingly. Selective leaching, also called dealloying or demetalification, parting, and selective corrosion, is a corrosion type in some solid alloys which is suitable conditions. A component of alloys is leached from the material. The less noble metals is removed from the alloy by a microscopic scale galvanic corrosion mechanism. The environment in which this type of corrosion occurs includes exposed to stagnant or slow-moving bodies of water, especially if it contains high quantities of O2 or CO2 or chlorides. The metal or alloys that are susceptible are the ones containing metals with high distance between each other on the galvanic series. Example, copper and zinc and brass. The elements most typically undergoing selective removal are zinc, aluminum, iron, cobalt, chromium, and others. The factors: exposure to water, which is either neutral or alkaline, and containing a high salt content, and the zinc content is low. Temperature also affects it. The higher the temperature, the higher the corrosion rate. And here's the corrosion cell. You see it goes through the grain boundaries. There's some pictures. Testing and monitoring. The most efficient way to test is in process for dealloying is through eddy current testing. This works by analyzing an electric current induced through the surface of the metal Alloy compositional changes brought about by dealloying corrosion will disturb the flow of the induced eddy currents. Mitigation, limit the properties of alloying elements, control the environment to minimize the effect of dealloying, use a sacrificial anode to protect the alloy. Sensitization is the loss of alloy's integrity. It results from chromium depletion in the vicinity of carbides precipitated at grain boundaries. This causes the steel or alloys to become susceptible to intergranular corrosion or intergranular stress corrosion cracking. Environments. When a stainless steel is held at a temperature of 425 or 815 Celsius, so usually during welding, susceptible alloys and metals is stainless steels. Factors: temperature, time at which it is at that temperature, and the composition of the material. Here's a corrosion cell. Here's some photos. Standards. Common methods to check this of stainless steels to intergranular attack are described in ASTM A262-1 for austenitic steels and ASTM A7632 for ferric steels. Practice A in ASTM A262, the one I went over earlier, and practice W in ASTM A763 have rules for each test and silic acids. This is the ASTM G106. This testing involves metallographic preparation of the specimens, followed by electrochemical reactions and aggressive electrolyte. The freshly polished or clean specimen is stepped from its open circuit potential to a passivating potential, then reacted by performing a polarization sweep back to the corrosion potential. The initially decreasing current density indicates passivation. While the rapid increase in current density is lower, potentials indicate reactivation of the surface. Higher maximum current densities imply a greater degree of sensitization. The mitigation would be to reduce the carbon content, adding stabilizers such as niobium or titanium, reducing the time of exposure to the critical temperature range, which was 815 degrees Celsius. Weld decay is a form of internal corrosion, usually on stainless steels or certain nickel-based alloys, that occurs as a result of sensitization in heat-affected zones during welding operations. Environment would be welding, so higher temperature, because it only happens while you're welding. Susceptible metals and alloys, stainless steel and nickel-based alloys. Factors would be temperature and the amount of time it is at that temperature. So the amount of time you're welding on this alloy or metal. Here's a corrosion cell. You can see the weld decay. It kind of forms a little pivot, and you can see the weld that's right there. That's what I was talking about, the corrosion on either side of the weld right here. You can see how it divots down and it goes all the way through. It's hard to see on here, but then there's a better picture of it right there. Testing and monitoring. I've already gone over. Wait, no, okay. ASTM A923. There's 3 methods. Method A, the sample is polished and electrochemically etched in sodium hydroxide. Once etched, the microstructure is analyzed and separated into one of 4 groups: unaffected structure, possibly affected structure, affected structure, and centerline structure. Method B, the Sharpie impact test for classification of structures of duplex stainless steels. And method C, the ferric chloride corrosion test for classification of structures of duplex stainless steels. Mitigation would be to use low carbon grade of stainless steels, use stabilized grade alloys with titanium or niobium, or titanium and niobium are strong chloride formers. They react with the carbon to form the corresponding carbides, preventing chromium depletion. Use post-weld heat treatments.
Take a breath, Bill.
Breathe.
I was trying to